Sorry, that was wifey.
What's her name?
My wife?
Yes.
Diane.
What is it, Dana?
Diane.
Oh, Diane. Okay.
So, you remember that everybody was buying United We Stand stuff, the whole patriotism thing. All the stores had United We Stand stuff. So I'm buying myself a hat, which I have to this day with all my 9/11 pins on it.
Yeah, we all went crazy.
United
with flags on our cars and, blind patriotism.
I bought a hat, and I'm online. And there's this guy in front of me with a Port Authority t-shirt that says, "Remember, this is now November of '01. Remember the 33 Port Authority cops that died." And it had listed the names. It was a 9/11 t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember saying to him, "Nice t-shirt." And he turned around and looked at me. And we just stared at each other.
Really? I just got the chills.
We're staring at each other. We're staring at each other. And it's something my psychologist, I go to a psychiatrist for post-traumatic stress. I came face to face. It was something I had blacked out. I had seen his Port Authority patch on his shield, but I had seen his face. I just don't remember seeing it. I didn't remember. I blacked it out.
Well, on a certain level, your memory still remembers it.
I'm looking at you. So we're staring at each other. We're staring each other down. And I said, "Do I know you?" And he says, "I don't know. Do you?" I says, "I know you from somewhere." He says, "Yes, Charlie, you do." He didn't remember my name. And I said, in between all this, I had gone to a Christian retreat, and the priest at the Christian retreat turned out that he was the Port Authority chaplain, and I had asked him who 1236 was, and he says, his name is, he found out for me his name's Mark Myers, but he didn't want to meet any of the people that he saved or whatever. So I look at him and I said, "Well, you're Mark Myers." And he says, "Yes, I am." And as full as this water is right here, is what was coming down my face. I had met the man that saved my life. So I remember the girl behind the counter says, "Yeah, he saved my life in 9/11." Well, all the hoopla goes, she calls this person, the managers are all coming down, we got 2 9/11 heroes in the store, blah, blah, blah. We wound up getting our stuff for free. He was buying I was buying a hat, he was getting
You weren't in Starbucks. They weren't going to make it up to you.
Yeah. I got my hat for free. So that's why but anyway, that's how I met my hero.
That's cool.
So that's how I met Mark Myers. And then in December I called it quits. Now I'm going to fast forward really quick. March 2002 comes, I get rushed to the hospital. I get rushed to Southern Ocean County Hospital. They in turn transfer me to Deborah Heart and Lung Center in Drowns Mills, New Jersey, which is one of the top lung and heart hospitals in the country. They diagnosed me with chronic bronchial asthma, pericarditis, World Trade Center cough, and what was dubbed the World Trade Center cough. And they placed me on the oral steroid prednisone. That began a medical odyssey that has plagued me till I'm sitting here right now. I have been hospitalized 18 times since 9/11.
Wow.
I have 17 diagnoses and I take 28 medications. And in November of '07, my house was going into foreclosure because in March of '07 I had a hip replacement. I developed avascular necrosis, which is you get avascular necrosis due to a blood loss to your bones. And what causes that is the steroid prednisone.
Oh.
It destroyed my hip. So I had to have a total right hip replacement.
I just can't imagine.
I became totally disabled. So now I can't work. Now I can't.
You're still in your 30s at this point.
Huh?
You're still in your 30s.
I'm in my late 30s.
Yeah.
I'm in my late 30s. I can't work. haven't gotten a dime from the government. 2007 progresses. I'm going to lose my house now.
And I know you had the workman's comp that they didn't want to make the payment, but was there disability?
No, I had applied for it, but I hadn't received anything, and I kept on calling and says, there's thousands of 9/11 cases, you just have to wait till we get to yours. This is what I kept on getting told. Finally, till my lawyer, till what I'm about to get to is in October of 2007, my house went into foreclosure.
Was this Barnegat too?
Huh?
Were you
I was living in
Barnegat?
Barnegat,
Okay.
yeah. And this part gets very hard for me. There was a lot of news stories. There was a lot of fundraising for my family going on already. There was a Celtic band that had done an Irish dance for me, a real Irish dance for me, and it was the day before. I'll tell you the exact date. It was October 19th, 2007. Okay, I'm on my way to New York City to see Pastor Joel Osteen, which I happen to like. He's a television pastor, and they're saying that James Adroga's death is not due to 9/11. The New York City medical examiner says it was because of crushed pills and he was a drug addict.
Yeah.
So my wife says, it's our day, we're going to see Joel. I said, no. So I get on the phone and I just start calling all my media people and I start making statements. I said, Charles Hirsch is a fucking asshole. I said, he's a jerk. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I know James. I worked the pile with him. He's not a drug addict. Blah, blah, blah. So it turns out on that Saturday, October 20th, was my fundraiser. Well, the article for my fundraiser was in this section of the paper, the bottom section, and on the top section was a story about James Adroga. So who but shows up at my fundraiser, a couple of people from the Irish band come over to me and said, there's somebody at the door for you. And they said they just want to give you something. And I look at the door, and it's Mr. and Mrs. Adroga. And James had died already.
Yeah.
James was dead already. And his daughter, Tyler Rand. So I said, oh my God. I said, please let them in. I said, that's James Adroga. I said, their son died due to 9/11. So they were like, oh my God. So they bring him in. He hands me a check. And he says, and at the Joel Osteen concert, Joel Osteen had said, if you believe in God and you admit that you love him, God's going to put all the right people in your place starting today. So Saturday, I meet James Adroga. He says, Charlie, here's a check. Hands me a check.
Wow.
He says, it's going to be the start of a week that's going to be amazing for you. Well, Sunday, I'm at my mom's house. And my phone rings, and I was volunteering with the local fire department, just doing some typing for them, on the computer, just to keep myself busy. I was disabled, go up to the firehouse, for an hour a week and just do a little bit of, paperwork. And I would get very tired and leave and stuff. So the guy from the firehouse calls me and says, you need to come to the firehouse immediately. So I said, why? He says, you and your wife need to come to the firehouse immediately. So I get to the firehouse, and he says to me, he closes the door, he says, do you know a guy named John Field? I said, I don't know him personally, but he has spoken out about my case a number of times in the newspapers. And
so by 2007 you didn't know him?
No.
That's interesting.
So he says, well, John Field just called here looking for you. He got the number from the newspapers. So I called John Field, and he says, Charlie, he says, I'm from the Feel Good Foundation. He explains to me about the foundation. I said, I know you've spoken about me in the past. He says, you're going to get very overwhelmed this week. First of all, I've already spoken to the president of the firehouse. We're having a press conference at your firehouse Friday.
Wow.
He says, where I'm going to come and talk to you. He says, and the way the Feel Good Foundation is, they try to start one responder at a time. This was the way they were working at first. And I was next on their list. What had happened was Joe Zadroga had called John Field and told John Field my story, and John had also read it in the paper. So he says, you're going to have to do a lot of television interviews. Well, I wind up being on the Star Jones show. I was on Star Jones twice. I did CBS, NBC from New York. I did NBC from out here.